Okay, how stuff works on the trail, part two. Shelters. I don't stay in shelters very often, but I do like to camp at shelters. This is a pretty average shelter. It looks like it sleeps about 6, so imagine 6 people crammed in there. It's just 3-sided like that. There's no doors, there's no screen, there's nothing. So normally people just lay out their sleeping bags, which means you're open to the bugs and potentially, if you know, a really bad storm, you might actually get wet or whatever, depending upon how it's built. Up here in the north, they don't tend to have any kind of a front area. Down in the south, they tend to have a picnic table. Sometimes the picnic table is actually under the roof. Sometimes it's just in front of the shelter. But shelters are like meeting places. So pretty much I've hiked all day today, and I passed a couple people, but that's it. And but this is where we kind of can meet up with people, let everybody know kind of what's coming, what you just passed, what's ahead of you, what's behind you, whatever. And they might be going the other way. You can help them out a little bit. And there's also usually another means of communication. Usually shelters have logbooks in them, and so you can write in the logbook, and kind of as people read it, then they can figure out, you know, what gouge or what gossip you got to spread. So this just, you know, whereas I don't see very many people when I'm walking down the trail, this is somewhere that a lot of times you can run into people. It's around lunchtime right now, so I didn't see him here, but I noticed in the logbook that a buddy of mine, Turkey Bait, was here for lunch, so he must have just come and gone. So I know he's on the trail ahead of me. If it wasn't Turkey Bait, I might try to catch up to him, but Turkey Bait is really fast, so I'm probably not going to catch him. But it's just, this is a place where we pass information and where we can hang out together. I like to sleep at shelters because there's almost always a good water source nearby. When I showed you, you know, making the water earlier, that was just 100 yards down the trail from here. So that's what passes for a good water source here. And you know, usually when you sleep, you want some water around dinner time in the evening, and then you're going to want water first thing in the morning too. Brush your teeth, you know, eat breakfast, all that kind of good stuff. So it's always good to camp at a shelter because there's usually a pretty reliable water source. There probably, in most cases, is an outhouse or a privy. I don't know if I see a sign for one, but you know, there's probably one here somewhere. In the south, they tend to be moldering privies, meaning they compost. Up here, a lot of times they don't have a very long summer, so composting really doesn't work very well. And so the privies just tend to be outhouses, and then they just bury that over and dig a new hole. And that's kind of how it works up here. So, but yeah, I always tell people I don't stay in shelters, but you know, now you understand kind of how it works and why I would or wouldn't want to stay in a shelter. They all have mice, all of them. I've never been in one that didn't have any mice. Even the ones where I saw a snake, well, the reason you see snakes sometimes in and around shelters is because there's mice. They all have mice. So there's some definite positives and negatives. I just like to stay near a shelter. I'll set up my tent somewhere nearby, and that's what works for me. So love you all. That's kind of a little word on shelters. Puck out.